listening to a download from the outdoorstation.co.uk.
Number 343.
Hello and welcome back to the Outdoor Station. As many people know, we've been away for a short break, and that's been one of the reasons for the long gap between these podcasts. We went on a whistle-stop tour of family and friends down in Antipodean parts, and I'll be sharing some of the impressions and things we learned about the outdoors lifestyle in Australia and New Zealand in coming podcasts. However, one main impression we were left with was just how little our pound is worth around the world. It certainly made us realise that if we hadn't been staying with friends, we probably would never have visited. So we returned with a much greater awareness of just how lucky we are in this country with our environment, and even though things are a bit tight at the moment, just what great value for money the UK does actually represent. No wonder staycations are the new buzzword. This leads me neatly into the recent official launch of the Wales Coastal Path, which took place on the 5th of May 2012 at the main stadium in central Cardiff, right in front of Cardiff Bay. It was a typical spring day with blustery winds and bursts of sunshine, and during the morning the crowds grew steadily as they waited patiently for the series of events to unfold. You will have seen or heard about it, I'm sure, as it has been on all the mainstream media around the UK and further afield. But I thought it warranted its very own podcast, as we need to celebrate something totally unique like this on our shores. It's the first complete path to circumnavigate a country anywhere in the world. I can see it being very popular with section hikers, through hikers and day walkers, and surely it'll be a big boost to the local economy. Sue Rice is the Access Programmes Manager with the Countryside Council of Wales, and she heads up the team behind the whole project.
Well, the idea of the Wales Coast Path was first announced in 2006 when the Anglesey Coast Path was opened. And the Welsh Government at that point recognised the importance of tourism and the importance of walking to Wales, and decided that it would be a fantastic idea to link up all the existing paths we had and to get everyone to be able to access the whole of the Welsh coast. So we actually started the current project in 2007. We actually finish next March, so we're still a little bit of work going on, but we're officially opening the path today. So really we've had 5 years of hard work so far, a little bit more still to do, but it's just been a fantastic project.
So have you found the influence of the districts? There are districts obviously that have had a path established for some years, like Pembrokeshire you were saying, but the other districts that hadn't really sort of, or perhaps not considered it or considered the investment.
Well, we started, everyone started with a completely different, from a completely different point. You had the likes of Pembrokeshire and Anglesey and Ceredigion that had their paths that were already promoted. But then you had other authorities like Swansea who'd been thinking about doing a Gower Coast Path for the last 10 years and had all the plans, but hadn't had the wherewithal to actually get it on the ground. And then you had other authorities that just had very little access to start with, so had a big job to do in the last 5 years. So really, we were very lucky because all of the local authorities along the way were very enthusiastic about the idea and were really keen to get involved. And it's been a great partnership project to work on. And everyone's been really keen to make sure that they play their part in it and they're not the ones to let anyone down and to have a gap or to have a bad bit of path. And so it's been a fantastic opportunity for everyone to work together and realise that your little bit can actually achieve an awful lot more when you work with other people.
You were saying a bit earlier on also about the actual environment that the path goes through. It isn't purely the beautiful aspects of the coast. You've taken on different aspects to reflect the nature of Wales.
Yes, certainly. We took the decision from the beginning that we were going to have a continuous path right around Wales. So that obviously meant we had to go through urban areas and industrial areas as well. But we thought that actually that really reflects everything Wales has to offer. We've got a big industrial heritage, particularly here in South Wales. And so we felt it was important to actually reflect that in the path as well. So you do go through industrial areas and you do go through urban areas, but it's all part of what makes Wales Wales.
Now, our audience, I'd say, is very much self-powered travel individuals, predominantly walking, but obviously the other activities as well, cycling and possibly horse riding as well. You've tried to encapsulate those interests if people just want to go out for a few days in a certain area as much as sort of convicted walkers. Yeah,
we obviously... You could set off and walk the whole of the Wales Coast Path, all 870 miles or 1,400 kilometres of it. And if you were really serious, you could then also do Offa's Dyke as well and go over 1,000 miles. But it's not just about long distance walks, it's about short distances as well, and people being able to get out there for a day or even an afternoon, or even just a short stroll. There's opportunities for everybody, and really you can go to anywhere on the coast now and know that you can have a nice walk.
There's a lot of obviously campsites and rest areas and people associated with the tourism industry that have probably been in that area for some time. But have you noticed that there's been a positive pickup of people recognising that this is actually going to bring quite a lot of money into Wales, into the green pound, as it were, into the economy?
Yes, certainly. Places like Pembrokeshire, who've had their path established for 40 years, see a considerable benefit to the local economy from the path and from walking. And we're keen to ensure that all the authorities around Wales make the most of that and really work to encourage additional tourism facilities within their areas. We've been concentrating very much in the last 5 years on just getting the path in place. But now on, we really need to look at how we then maximise all those benefits for local communities and make sure that when a traveller comes and wants to walk the path, those facilities are there for them where they want them.
And what about overseas travellers, so people from America and so on? Are you guiding them towards the website and then hoping to facilitate all the information from there?
Certainly, we've got a new website. It's www.walescoastpath.gov.uk, and that's got all the information of everything that you can do on the path. Because it's not all about walking. There's culture, there's heritage, there's family fun, there's wonderful beaches. There's lots of information on the website, and we're hoping that we'll be developing that website in the months to come to improve information that's on there. But there's also links from there to tourism, to accommodation providers and that sort of thing as well, and linking through to Visit Wales site, so that somebody can go there, find out which bit they want to walk, and then also find the associated information they need to really put together a package for their holiday.
Well, you should be congratulated for putting the project together. It must have been a mammoth task to get everybody around the table and sort of agree agree to the same sheet of paper. What's the timescale you're devoting to it now? What's the ongoing plan? Is it an ongoing thing for 5 years, 10 years to develop it and enhance it and take it further?
Our current package of funding runs out at the end of this financial year. That's been made up of Welsh Government funding from local authorities and funding from the European Regional Development Fund. But we're currently discussing with Welsh Government the long-term management and maintenance of the path. Everybody's very committed to that long-term future for the path. Everyone recognises the fact that this is a fantastic asset for Wales, and that having developed something that has achieved worldwide recognition, that we need to make sure we maintain those standards and that everyone in years to come visits and still gets the same wonderful experience. So we will have, by next March, we will have a robust management strategy in place for the long term for the path to make sure that we can maximise everything and also build on what we've already got.
Well, obviously Ari's coming in from having run the path, which is an epic feat in anybody's book, and I shall look forward to speaking to her a bit later on. What about yourself? Have you, obviously from having a meeting with the different authorities, presumably you've visited the different areas you may not have seen before, is there anything you've discovered as a secret little area you'd like to hold to yourself?
Everyone always asks me sort of what my favourite places and what have you, and I'm from South Wales, so my favourite areas really relate back to sort of childhood experiences. I used to go to Southern Down in the Vale of Glamorgan. That's one of my favourite places, and the Heritage Coast there is just fantastic. Newport Wetlands is a fantastic nature reserve. There's wonderful things you can see and do down there, really close to the city centre. It's only about a mile or two from the city centre of Newport, and you'd have such wonderful things just on people's doorsteps. But as you get further west and further north as well, there are just wonderful little nooks and crannies, fantastic little beaches. And a lot of people say that they enjoy walking along the coast path because it's not very busy, but there's just so much of it that I think you'll still be able to find those secluded areas and those wonderful little havens and little views as you walk around corners. There's always something to discover. Well,
certainly the recession being what it is at the moment, I think you probably timed it by coincidence perfectly well to encourage people to make the most out of their own country.
Well, hopefully. I mean, everyone goes on about staycationing and how that's what everyone does these days, and I think that people need to realise that they've got such fantastic things on their doorstep. I think that people quite often think that to get nice beaches or to get nice countryside, you have to go further afield, but they're on your doorstep here, and they are really world class.
You're listening to the award-winning UK Business Podcaster of the Year.
The home of UK-based audio and video podcasts for lovers of the great outdoors everywhere.
Podcasts are based solely around self-powered travel.
This is the Outdoor Station.
Links to the Wales Coastal Path website can be found on the show notes on the Outdoors station. The big moment of the day was to be the arrival of Ari Beresford-Webb, who was completing her epic run of 1,027 miles, arriving at the arena to hand the baton over to the first official thru hiker, Dave Quarrell. Dave was waiting to set off at a more sedate walking pace.
I'll be the first official person to walk the whole path since it opens, so not the first person to go round the route, because Ari Beresford-Webb is due to finish her run round today. It's taken her 42 days, she's mad, and we'll be doing a baton handover at the end of her run today, so she's got a mile left. She'll run into the event and then I'll walk out.
And she'll put her feet up while you start all over.
Yeah.
So, have you been following Ari's blog?
I have, yeah, and we've been in touch on Twitter and things, and obviously in the run-up to both of our events we had a bit of conversation about what we were going to do and trying to make sure that we weren't competing, and she's great, she's full of energy, so she's, I think, keeping some tips about bits of the path that are tricky, or navigation and those sorts of things, and she's also promised to bring along with the handover baton, she's got some leftover blister patches which she's promised me, so yeah,
let's hope you don't need those.
Yeah, I hope so.
On her blog, she's obviously detailed as best she can every few days when she got sort of internet access to some of the sort of stories that happened.
Yeah.
Do you feel that it's going to be fairly easy to follow the route? I mean, I know it's the official opening, but there's also been comments that it's not quite finished just yet.
Yeah,
you know?
There are certainly a couple of places where I'm expecting there might be hurdles. Yeah, I mean, I've had a handover today from somebody from Cardiff who said that there's a caravan site I'm going to have to get special access through because they haven't finished building the bridge yet. But those are few and far between, to be honest. They've put a lot of effort in up front to make sure everything's ready. Hopefully it'll be okay. And I've got View Ranger GPS for finding my way around as well, which will hopefully be invaluable.
You're sponsored for this event by numerous people, so let's give them a mention.
Well, my main supporter is Cotswold Outdoor, who've sorted out a load of outdoor equipment for me. So I've had rucksack and tent and soft shell jackets and all sorts of things from them, which has been fantastic. To be honest, I don't think my budget would have stretched to the sort of lightweight gear that I need to be able to take this on with having to carry everything around with me for 83 days. But also I've had a lot of help from people with accommodation around the route. So, I've got 83 nights or 82 nights away from home. And just even if I was paying £10 a night, the going rate for a campsite, then that would add up to a serious pile of cash by the end of the route. So people have been very generous and have offered me nights in B&Bs or campsites, or I think a couple of the unusual ones. I'm spending a night in Atlantic College, which is a former castle on the Glamorgan coast. I've got a night with St Maddock Christian Youth Centre in just outside on the North Gower coast, just outside Lucca. So some interesting places. Hopefully meet some interesting people.
So, I mean, the whole principle, the way you're approaching it, sounds like most backpackers would like to do it. Fairly sort of self-supported. You're unsupported, as it were.
Yeah. Well, I've got a wife. She's very
useful. So she's carrying the heavy equipment.
Yeah, she's very patient. She's bringing the car up and dropping off clean socks and things periodically. A couple of people have said to me, have you got a nutritionist? Well, I've got a wife. I've got some Kendall mint cake. Have you got a physiotherapist? I've got a wife. I've got some blister patches. That's about it, really. It is pretty much self-sufficient. So
I presume you're camping as much as possible to sort of keep you within the spirit of the thing.
Yeah, to be honest, I probably copped out a little bit there, because where people have said, yeah, come and stay in our B&B, I haven't said, no, really, I'd like to stay in a field. So I will be using the tent. I've got at least 20 nights under canvas, and I think there's quite a few of the gaps still to be filled that will end up being filled by a field.
A bit of wild camping.
But and obviously I've got to be careful that because I'm linked to the launch of the Coast Path and everything else, that I do things by the book. So I'm not going to make any unscheduled stops in farmers' fields without permission and that sort of thing.
Absolutely. So I mean, you're loaded up there. You've got the pack. Any idea how heavy it weighs now?
I did have, but everything got repacked this morning, so I'll have to reweigh it. I think there's some stuff in there now that won't be coming all the way with me.
Right.
Because it's quite heavy.
Yeah, most people start off doing a long walk with something like that, and after the first few days they realise that perhaps they can do without certain items.
Yeah, I'm working on the basis that things that don't come out of the bag but in the next 48 hours won't be coming with me the rest of the way. So, yeah.
Well, I'd certainly like to catch up with you as you go around the walk if we can in some way, come and see you in person, join you for a few miles if that's possible.
That'd be good.
And I'd be interested to see your impressions of the coast of Wales, of the actual route itself and the parts you like and don't like. Because you were saying earlier on, you know, the last bit of walking you did was Duke of Edinburgh, which must have been a few years ago.
Yeah, I did my Duke of Edinburgh Gold expedition in when I was 17, so that's 10 years ago, and I'm starting to feel that I should have done some more training in the interim. But what I've really found actually is that when I have got out training, I've done a lot of training on the Glamorganshire coast, that as a family we used to go to places like North Cornwall, and really because my dad loved walking, and to go out and enjoy the coastline there. But in doing the training, I found that there's these beautiful coastline on our doorstep, really, that you kind of missed. So hopefully the Coast Path and the launch will encourage people to get out there and see it. And certainly I'll be finding some places en route that I wouldn't have come across otherwise, and that'll be places to take my family then in the future.
I think the Welsh coastline is a magnificent coastline, and as you say, you know, sometimes you're so desperate to get to your destination for your holiday, you forget what's right underneath your nose, as it were. And certainly from where we are, sort of over in the Midlands, you sort of come off over to straight across to Aberystwyth or Barmouth or down to Newquay or whatever, and it's you miss lots of subtle little coves. And I'm quite envious of you taking the long ambling route.
Yeah, I mean Aberystwyth is a place that's close to my heart actually, because my wife studied there, so I spent a bit of time up there while she was in uni, and my dad's job with the Welsh Government moved up there a few years before he died, so we spent some time backwards and forwards, and he's actually got a house there which is quite handy at the moment. So it'll be nice to go back through Aberystwyth and see some of the old haunts there. But I'm really looking forward to experiencing some new places as well. There's a whole, you know, there's 1,000 miles of Wales that I haven't been and seen yet. So
and are you coming back down Offers Dyke as well?
Offers Dyke as well. So if I'm sick of the sea after 840 miles, then there's an opportunity to get up in some hillsides and things as well. And I've got a couple of mates who've been talking about doing that for ages. So they're going to come and join me. I spoke to Ari this morning, who's been running. She said Offers Dyke is a pig.
Oh, right, okay. But she's used to just paddling in the water. What does she know about hills?
I think it's probably harder if you run up and down it, to be fair.
Yes.
I'll take it in slowly and enjoy it.
Yeah, brilliant. You're doing this in aid of a charity as well, I understand. Yeah,
I'm raising money for Cancer Research Wales. My dad passed away in May 2011 from cancer, so just this week is the first anniversary of his passing. And he worked for the Welsh Government on the development of the Coast Path, so really if he was still with us, he would have been out today, he would have been going for a walk. So I'm doing it on his behalf, and my target is to raise £20,000 for cancer research.
So let's have the website for that, and your blog site. I presume you're doing your blog as well, so we can all be fascinated by the experience.
It's all online at www.walkwales1027.com, and there's a blog and you can track my progress there. I'm also using Social Hiking, which will give me a real-time map of where I am, so you can come and stalk me if you like. And there's Twitter and everything else as well linked from there, so please do kind of keep track of me.
Well, it's been a pleasure to speak to you. I know the official start is within the next hour, and you're going to have your baton. Yep. And you'll be off. You'll be going. I'm sure it'll be fish and chips tonight, or something equally rewarding. Hope you don't have to use the blister plasters too soon. And maybe we'll catch up with you as you go around.
Yeah, thanks very much. I'll certainly look forward to speaking to you again. There's going to be some experiences to recount, I expect. So I'll keep a diary.
And I'll be putting all the various links to Dave's website and sponsorship page in the show notes on theoutdoorstation.co.uk. So make sure you check that out. Of course, if you get bored during the day, you can always see exactly where he is and stalk him en route. Having said that, if you're near the coast of Wales or Offers Dyke, somewhere on his passage, I'm sure some company would be appreciated, or a cup of tea and a bun. And I hope to join him for a few days walking and update listeners as to his progress and general impression during the next few weeks. However, behind the actual pleasures of the walking, there has to be a local authority ensuring it is safe, well maintained and promoted, and this takes funding. Tagrin Jones is the Chief Exec of Pembrokeshire Coast and National Park Authority, and I asked him to share his thoughts on the financial benefits and otherwise of their investment over the years in the Park Authority.
I think the Pembrokeshire Coast Path has been integral to the development of the area, and certainly tourism in the area. It was originally, work started in 1953 and it was completed in 1970. It's a 186-mile path covering the whole of the coastline in Pembrokeshire, and is immensely important to the tourism industry. Both major attractions and also, perhaps more importantly, the small businesses in the area. There are numerous bed and breakfast, campsites, restaurants, takeaway shops along the route. there that benefit from the thousands of people who either walk the whole path or work sections of the path. We estimate that it brings in the region of £15 million a year to the economy of Pembrokeshire, although I have to say I think that figure is quite dated, really. I think it probably is a conservative estimate, really, but it's certainly key in bringing money in maintaining employment and just raising the profile of Pembrokeshire.
How do you see the development of all the paths being linked together like this? Do you see this as a really big boost to the economy?
From the experience of Pembrokeshire, then it can only be positive. Hopefully it will mean that some of the benefits we've had in Pembrokeshire will be felt in other parts of Wales. I think walking is an increasingly popular activity. Therefore, what started in 1950s and 60s was pretty a niche activity. Developing a path in that time was a major challenge. By now, I think walking is accepted in terms of popularity, of being very important economically, but also I think perhaps provides a major opportunity in terms of health issues. I think we could all perhaps get fitter, and a fitter population with far more opportunities to walk will undoubtedly perhaps save money for National Health Service and other public services.
From a long-term point of view, what investment do you as a district put into the sort of the outdoor activities? Is it a significant part of your budget?
We estimate that the cost of maintaining the Pembrokeshire Path is about £200,000 a year, and a lot of that money is designated because it's a national trail element there. But it is a major challenge to maintain the path. We cut most sections of the path 3 times a year. Obviously, if we don't do that, then it has an impact on the enjoyment of walkers there. And we tend to get feedback from the tourism industry if certain areas are overgrown where it's commented there. So it's important we maintain the standards of path. Other areas which we've done a lot of work over recent years has been the replacement of Stileswell gates, which makes it a more accessible path. From a situation about 10 years ago where we had over 500 stiles, we're down to about 70 now. Therefore, while the path will never be truly accessible for everybody there because of the nature of the coastline and the nature of the geography of the path, we can make it far easier for people to access and to walk. 186 miles is pretty daunting, and one of the problems of a linear path is you start in one point and then you need to get back to it. So that's supported by a coastal bus service, which can make it much easier for people to use it. Every year in May and June, the National Park Authority organises a guided walk, which guides people for 2 weeks to walk the whole length of the path. But perhaps more importantly, over years, we've developed 200 circular walks, which enable people to access the path but also make it perhaps a bit easier for them and link it with the inland path network, which is about 1,000 kilometres in Pembrokeshire. So there are lots of things where hopefully the good practice developed in Pembrokeshire can be applied in other parts of Wales in order to maximise the benefit of the Wales Coastal Path.
Certainly walking festivals are growing in popularity, and Pembrokeshire has been blessed really with the countryside.
Certainly, I think perhaps we need to consider access in its wider sense there. That obviously we focused on physical access, but I think there's almost a mental access issue for some people in order to have confidence to access the path. There, perhaps for a number of us, going for the walk in the path is something we wouldn't think twice about. It's pretty easy, pretty natural. But for other people, perhaps if you haven't had that experience, are concerned about getting lost, about how you're going to get back, then there needs to be that element of support in order to almost unlock the door of accessing the path. So I think walking festivals, support from groups such as the Ramblers, local groups such as the Friends of National Parks, for example, or National Park authorities or local authorities can actually provide a key role in helping people, building up their confidence, and hopefully they will develop a lifelong love of walking and using the path.
As you say, though, access really is the one thing that I suppose at the back of a lot of people's minds is they've got to get there to start. As you say, the bus service is very good at bringing you back to where you started from. But car parking and sadly, rural crime is a thing that everybody's aware of these days. Is that something you think is going to be developed, sort of the larger parking areas or something along those lines to make people feel more comfortable like that?
Well, I think we are trying to encourage perhaps a more sustainable lifestyle here. So as part of that, we need to encourage sustainable travel. We mentioned the coastal bus services in Pembrokeshire, which I think are really popular and very important to enable people to access the park. We have to accept that not everybody is going to be able to access by public transport, but I think we need to work together to analyse where it makes it easier for people to access the path, even by car there, and make sure that there's an appropriate degree of support while also respecting the environments that we are keen to protect in order to make this path a valuable experience for people who walk it.
If you have any feedback, questions or suggestions, why not drop us a line either on Facebook or directly to our email address info@theoutdoorstation.co.uk.
The home of UK-based audio and video podcasts for outdoors people everywhere.
There was a fair crowd gathered for the arrival of Ari, who jogged into the stadium having just completed 39.2 marathons, back-to-back, within 6 weeks, where she was met by the Minister for the Environment, John Griffiths. She received a well-earned and raptured applause from everyone, and took the stage, stunning us all with her beaming smiles and intoxicating enthusiasm. After endless photo calls and interviews, I caught up with her, still grinning ear to ear.
I've been running around the entire Wales Coast Path and the Offers Dyke Path, so 1,047 miles around the entire perimeter of Wales.
You were initially going to do this with a partner, but something happened.
Yeah, originally I was doing it with my friend and business partner Guy, but he had to pull out sadly through medical reasons, so I decided to take one for the team.
And what a big one it was.
Yeah, just a bit. He owes me big time.
So, I mean, we obviously broadcast around to people interested in self-powered travel, and the idea of this coastal path being open now is going to be whetting a lot of people's appetite. You're going to be asked the questions thousands of times, I'm sure, over the next few days, but, the good bits and the bad bits and so on. But can you just give people a rough idea what actually is involved in the terrain of this for overseas listeners?
It's pretty tough terrain. There's the ascent in total of the entire perimeter is 40,000 metres. It's a lot of going up the edge of cliffs and coming back down them again. There's a lot of sand dune running and running on sand itself, a lot of gravel, a lot of mud and a lot of flooded fields. So it's a challenge for anyone that wants it.
And was the path, for people that sort of like the comfort of having a path fairly well marked, was it easy to follow?
Yeah, I mean, I had a bit of a downside in the fact that I started 6 weeks before the actual opening, so waymarking was still going up. But the areas that had already been waymarked were really easy to follow. Anglesey in particular, fantastic. And the waymarks were going up as I went along. So yeah, it's pretty much sort of like as easy as any path is to follow, really.
So is this the first time you've attempted a marathon and anything longer than that?
Yeah, I'd never run a marathon before I started doing this. My longest was a half marathon, so yeah, it was a bit different.
And what about the training for it?
I did 15 months of trying to train myself for endurance, so just more time on the feet rather than speed. So my speed's gone down quite a lot, but I can keep going forever. So.
Well, that would be interesting to know, actually, because obviously you're doing a marathon a day, but you're not doing it within 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever. You're sort of pacing it across, 8 hours, 10-hour days?
Yeah, I think my shortest day was 6 hours, and the longest was about 10 hours, but it was very much terrain dependent, because there were some bits that were a lot flatter that obviously I could go faster injury dependent on, but there were some stretches where you're literally climbing mountains, so it made it quite a bit more difficult.
And what about accommodation? What were you doing to did you carry just safety gear with you, or do you sort of carry everything?
I had a support vehicle which would meet me at the beginning and the end and at any stop points during it to refuel, so I was quite lucky I didn't have to carry everything, just supplies for the day and first aid stuff, but obviously it was quite remote, so I had to make sure I was prepared for that. And accommodation wise, I managed to get accommodation donated to me by various people en route. Bluestone National Park Resort put me up for 3 nights, and then the rest was sort of like friends and colleagues that let me stay there.
Did you assign a budget for doing it?
I didn't actually, because when I first started looking at it, the reason that I did something close to home was so that I wouldn't have to pay a huge amount, so that I could just focus the attention on raising money for charity. It turned out a lot more expensive than I thought it was going to be, mainly in fuel costs, and obviously I attempted to get sponsorship for quite a lot of things but failed because people just weren't willing to sort of donate. I did, however, get sponsorship through Cotswold UK, which was brilliant, and Cardiff Embroidery, and as well as Bluestone, so I was quite lucky there. But it wasn't sort of hugely expensive as far as big challenges go, though, because there was no going abroad.
Did you time the whole thing to actually coincide with the official launch today?
Originally, no. We brought it forward. It was originally going to be starting 6th of April, finishing the end of May, and then brought it forward for various other reasons, and it just happened to fall around the weekend of the launch, so then I actually cut short the amount of days I had so that I could finish on the launch day.
I know sponsorship is tricky to get at the best of times, but there are people like Cotswolds that will support people like yourself doing such a challenge. But you were saying also that the media interest was the thing that took you by surprise, or the lack of media interest.
Yeah, it was really difficult actually. I've been sending out press releases for about the 12 months before, and continuous. I managed to get a couple of Radio Wales interviews, and that was pretty much it. And then the local Cardiff press picked it up. Still now I'm having trouble. I think a lot of the problem was that I started on Sport Relief weekend, so the media just weren't really that interested. I'm very grateful for those that have taken it on board. I had issues as well. There was one particular local paper that decided that because I didn't live in the area it wasn't of public interest, even though I was running through the area, but luckily other local papers weren't quite so sheltered in their views.
Yeah.
So.
And so what about the actual response you've had? Because I know reading your blog that we must mention as that as well, but reading your blog you've had issues with people that were obviously causing you issues, you would say, abusing you or whatever as you went round, as well as natural things you had to cope with. Were generally people on the positive side? Generally
really positive. There was just one negative incident, and that was just some drunken idiot that decided to try and trip me up. But it was other than that, people would generally, if I told them what I was doing, they were either gobsmacked or just really supportive, so that was really good. I did, however, have a couple of incidents where there was a couple of people that contacted me that just said, "Oh, you're doing it now, we wanted to do it first," and I just thought that was a bit of a negative, egotistical sort of attitude, because my response was kind of along the lines, well, if you wanted to first, do it faster, or something like that, because I'm really not doing it for that. But yeah, in general, the attitudes has been fantastic. So
and did you find you were almost spreading the word about the actual path as you went?
Yeah, there was a lot of people that hadn't realised that all the paths were linking up to become this one big thing. We were really surprised. There were others that were sort of like asking me to contact them and let them know what particular parts were like and that. So there was generally a really good buzz around the path.
Well, you must give us your blog details, because people will be no doubt emailing you instantly going, tell us your best bit, where can I go? Well, I've only got 3 days, where shall I go?
The blog's accessible through my website, which is www.dragonrun1027.co.uk, and there's also access to the Just Giving site as well if anyone wants to donate.
Once again, links to Ari's blog and Just Giving page can be found on the Outdoors Station website. By this time, the crowd had swelled with all ages, and the carnival atmosphere looked set to continue for the rest of the day. Dave Quarrell had by now set off, and the marquee hosting all the various representatives from each coastal district were doing a roaring trade in information leaflets. The YHA had taken a stand, offering free membership just for that day, and they were 3 deep with people filling out forms when I spoke to James Hitchens, Operational Manager for the YHA in Wales.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of interest. It's been very positive. And even just today, a lot of people are walking the path, looking for accommodation providers on the route. So it's been very positive. And as well as the individuals, we've had lots of groups approaching us, charitable groups and groups of walkers and outdoor activity groups looking to walk the path and stay with hostels.
The number of properties that you have in Wales, and how many are actually on the path itself?
We've got 10 that are directly on the coastal path, and they are actually smack bang on the seafront, so people can walk the path and drop straight into a hostel at the end of their walk. And overall, we've got 22 YHA hostels in Wales.
Now, over the last few years, there's been a few hostels closing and being sold off or whatever, but there's more of a story to that, isn't there?
Yeah, we always look at the economics of running a hostel, and where they're not economically viable to refurbish or maintain, then sadly we do look at disposing of certain sites. But it's always a very difficult circumstance, it's a very difficult decision for us to make, and we're moving away from that. And it's always done on the value of the hostel and the cost of bringing it up to a standard that our customers expect.
So it's not necessarily the property, it's actually sometimes it's the infrastructure that causes it to be closed.
Partly, yes, yeah. We have to look very carefully. I mean, there's always changing legislation as well, which we've got to comply with. That makes it sometimes quite difficult to keep hostels running that run at a profit.
Right, sort of sewage and water supply and that type of thing.
Absolutely, yeah. There's been recent changes in legislation regarding private water supply, which a lot of our hostels are on. And of course we need to make sure we comply with the legislation and provide our customers a high standard of accommodation, and also make sure they're safe and comfortable while they're staying with us.
I certainly know that some of the other leisure organisations like Caravan and Camping Club, their membership is increasing year on year, particularly in this economic times. Are you noticing a definite increase as well over the last 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, we're seeing very positive growth in membership at the moment. I think being a budget end of the accommodation provider, a lot of people are turning to us for affordable holidays, and we've run some fantastic special offers, particularly over the winter this year, and the feedback from families has been brilliant. I mean, some people have said to us they couldn't afford to go away if it hadn't been for us, and we've done offers that have been £29 for rooms for families. We've done cheap deals on food, and people are very grateful to us. And as you say, caravan camping and our end of the market is growing at the moment.
For overseas listeners who might be interested in coming over and using your facilities, how do they go about joining, and how much does it cost?
You don't need to be a member to join and use the YHA. You can turn up, you can book in advance, you can arrive on the door. What we do provide our membership with is a discount. We've got partnerships with other organisations which give them discounts. But no, it's a bit of a rumour that you don't actually need to be a member. You don't have to be a youth to stay with the Youth Hostel Association.
Yes, I think we're a bit mature to be youths, aren't we?
Absolutely.
For somebody who's perhaps listening to it and considering this for the first time, what's the time constraint? Because I know the hostels are only open for certain times of the day and that type of thing.
The hostel opening hours vary depending on location. Some of them are open all day long from 7, 8 in the morning to 11 at night. Others work on a split shift system where they'll open in the morning for reception, close about midday-ish and open again at 5. If people are looking to stay with us, I strongly recommend they call the hostel in advance or use our contact centre at National Office and just arrange access times. But yes, they can expect a range of facilities at hostels. The vast majority have got self-catering facilities. We offer food, drink. A lot of the hostels are licensed, so they can have a drink with us in the evening as well. So yes, we've got a range of facilities. There's lounges, dining rooms as well, so if people want to mix, there's the opportunity for people to get together, play games and talk to other guests.
So do you feel that 2012, here we are just coming out of spring now, theoretically, coming out of spring, moving towards the summer, do you think it's going to be a very positive year for you?
Our advanced bookings are looking very positive. The first 2 months of our financial year have been fantastic. So yes, I'm very optimistic about the year ahead.
And where should people look for more information on the website or so?
We've got the YHA website. They can call our contact centre at National Office. And if they Google the YHA, there's lots of information either from our own websites or some of our partners.
I hope this podcast has inspired you to consider attempting the path, either in sections or as one complete circuit. There are, of course, countless campsites, small and large, around the coast and Offers Dyke, as well as many other kinds of accommodation to use and help spread the green pound around the UK economy along the way. Please help spread the word of this and send the link to this podcast far and wide, or put it on your blogs and web pages. A big congratulations must go out to Sue Rice and her team for putting this project together. It's no mean task. And of course, do visit Ari's and Dave's blog and Just Giving page to help them along the way with just a few pounds to meet their target for charity. All the links to everyone's pages can be found on theoutdoorstation.co.uk, along with a few photos and some extra information. Please visit the website and leave comments if you've enjoyed listening. I have a few more podcasts to put together from interviews compiled by Andy, plus some new interviews with other outdoor enthusiasts coming soon. So in the meantime, folks, just remember, a journey of 1,027 miles starts with just one step. Bye for now.
This independent programme has been brought to you by The Outdoors Station, the exciting new way to see and hear free information about the outdoors world. If you're a blogger, or if you have a website, you can now incorporate any of these podcasts directly to your site, completely free. Visit our website, theoutdoorstation.co.uk, for more information.